it's a little bit low and can be improved upon. But once you get your testing down and you find the niche and you find the combination of all these things that on your page increase conversion rate, that $100,000 now turns into almost 300,000, so 250,000 just by increasing the conversion rate on the page. That's 150,000 extra dollars in your pocket that you earned not by spending more money, but by testing things on your website to increase and get people to purchase through that funnel faster.
And to go back to the previous point, you're going to want to make sure you identify that, conversion rate optimization, whether it's from a desktop traffic or mobile traffic. So is the mobile, like we mentioned before, is it a responsive website? Is it a mobile immersive experience? Are you giving the user a frictionless experience to convert? So you got to keep those in mind, that some of these points align with one another and they play a bigger role when you combine the initiatives. And actually, that's a good segue into combining initiatives, but also combining channels, right? You have to really think about that the consumer does not have a linear path to purchase. You're on your phone, you're on your work computer, you're at home, you're watching TV, you're actually consuming content and being exposed to brand content and just exposure across the board from multiple devices. So how do you plan for the right content mix and channel mix? A good way to look at this is understand where your consumers are coming from now. Go into Google Analytics, look at your referral sources of the traffic and see if it's a YouTube channel, if it's your LinkedIn page, if it's Facebook, email marketing, see where your current saturation points for audiences are now, and then what similarities or what other platforms can we go out and discover? Because you have to be screen agnostic and platform agnostic. You have to be visible regardless of where they are, because once the consumer gets into the research phase or the purchase phase, they're going to start researching across the board. You can go to the next slide. As far as, like I mentioned, it's not a linear path to purchase. So once someone's influenced to buy something, they're going to do their research. They're going to understand and do reviews and look at YouTube videos. They're going to do price comparison shoppings. They're going to want to make sure it's the right product for them and look at images. And this is just Google's own properties. There's other ways to actually look at content that's exposed to them on Facebook, or they go to Etsy and see if they can buy something that's similar, but maybe from a local sort of small business, right? There's different ways that they're going to bounce around and do research. And those are going to be ways for you to identify where you should be active within that purchase path. Other ways is making sure that you want to know that from an organic standpoint, not only is this going to be beneficial for me to get visibility organically through Google product feed, but this setting up your Google Merchant Center benefits both those things, whether it's organic feed on Google and your shopping feed for page shopping on Google Ads. So if this is something that you have a product feed already, you just enable directly into Google's Merchant Center for the purpose of getting that additional visibility. So once you're actually able to drive that sort of activation, you're driving that traffic, you're driving that ad unit, and you get them to act. As Brooke mentioned earlier, she is on the couch browsing. She sees a pair of sheets that she wants, but she doesn't have her credit card, and she just added them to her cart, but she's not going to get up to buy. That is basically in her cart, ready to go. Maybe next time she might purchase, but she might forget. This happens often. Cart abandonment rates are high for most cases if you don't provide that frictionless experience to check out. It's up to us as advertisers to plan for these occurrences. What are you doing to segment that traffic? How are you using specific ad tags and pixels to identify and know that that consumer added a product to their shopping cart? And how do you go after them and remarket to that user, or activate an email drip campaign to say, hey, you left this in your shopping cart, come back and buy. You need to set up those reminders and those occurrences to get them to finish the activation that they started, which is purchase. And then last but not least, there's other sort of means of activating sort of reminders of that is push notifications. So push welcomes, we could see a click-through rate on average, depending on the industry, of a 6% click on the notifications or push. I believe this is specifically to your product, Neil, is that correct?
Used to be, not anymore, but yeah, Oh, it works really well. It's an easy way to get people to come back. We do it all the time, and it's one of the most effective ways to really just get people to continually come back.
Awesome.
Excellent. So number 6 big secret that big brands do is really study customer behavior trends and help people to buy. So I do see still a lot of chatter around testing duration and how it's hard to get traffic, but you don't have to go in and test this, broadly and spend all your money. If you do the research and you study that customer behavior, then you can roll out tests that are very niche and you can save money in that way. The other aspect of this is once you understand the buying behavior, you can start to give things to client or to prospective customers for free. Just like Neil is giving everyone this webinar for free. He says, hey, I have information I want to give to you guys. It's very similar to a buyer guide for the holiday season. You can teach people, you can jump to the next slide. You can teach people, what they should buy. And so here's just some of these shopping behavior trends for 2021. And you can look online, you can research very niche verticals. So if you're selling clothing, you could look up clothing retail and look at more statistics based off of this data. But right now, we're looking at people starting that shopping early. And in the search marketing world, we call that discovery marketing. And to Chris's point, being present on YouTube is really important, and creating and testing ideas for ads where you're introducing different products and giving people these product guides. You're basically helping them discover what they want to purchase. And 80% of global shoppers say that they get what they want from product inspiration. And that's when you start thinking outside of the box between Google and Facebook, and you think, well, how can I be present on Pinterest? And how can I start to create some interesting content for TikTok and other channels that are going to get people into the brand fold and then help them along the way make those purchases? So here are quite a daunting list of different things to think through as when you're launching your paid campaigns. These are all different testing opportunities, as we mentioned, but also different things that you can do within paid search to improve your results and to really combat and embrace at the same time those shopping trends that we just shared. And Chris, I don't know if you want to take a second to kind of talk through some of these things like brand safety and the geo and device targeting.
Yep, these are all things that should be a part of your checklist as a search marketer and advertiser that you're looking at, and from a reoccurring optimization standpoint. As your brand shift, as your brand objectives change, your content strategy changes, you need to make sure that you're adjusting your campaign settings and the nuances of search to align with them. But also just staying up with best practices and making sure you're taking advantage of all the features that search has to offer.
Absolutely. So back to talking through buying guides. So when you create your drip programs that Chris mentioned, and you talk through your, push notifications, be thinking about what content you're actually going to be serving those people and those potential customers. Make it so that you can share with them the top products sold on your website, for example. You can give it to them in a perspective that it's like a catalog, as if they were shopping in the store, walking from shelf to shelf. Present those products to them. Here's an example that Microsoft did. Here's Happy Valentine's Day. Find out what people are interested in, and here's a focus on the entertainment, and then you can browse through these different guides and different products. So you're the expert in your industry. Never forget that. People want you to tell them what to buy, and this email setup is a great way to do that. And you can create multiple different emails along the way leading up into holiday, and then people will also remember your product and your brand name basically from this type of guide email.
And as you're planning those brand guides, whether they live on your website or they're a specific print document like the example you see here, or the example that from Microsoft for email, think of it and make sure that it's able to be repurposed for multiple channels. As we mentioned before, your consumer does not follow a linear path to conversion. So how can you repurpose that content for Facebook and getting exposure there versus a tweet versus something that you might see on an Instagram story. Make sure that if you're designing and planning your calendar now, plan for multiple assets to be leveraged across multiple channels.
Yep, and this here, a buyer's guide is very similar to a packet you would receive in the mailbox, like the direct mailer. And thinking through, if you're selling a service, not products, for example, you want to offer buyer's guides even more, because the chances that your service is way more niche than just buying a gift for someone, for example. If it's a solar company, an HVAC, all these different industry verticals that have very complex products that need a lot of education, the buyer's guide is that much more important. And think about your blog on your website and the content on your website also as the potential opportunity to give people a buyer's guide. As we look at that customer journey, it's no longer linear. People are researching, popping around. You really need to make sure that you are giving information at each stage in that funnel. And then when it comes to your website, so you've already done all the work to get someone to your website. They don't see what they want necessarily on your website. You need to have these dynamic product recommendation type widgets on your site, so that once they're on the site, they're searching for something. It's like, oh, we all as consumers have an attention span of like a very small child. So, look, I see another product with 5-star reviews and it's a little bit cheaper. And so you want to present those dynamic product recommendations, and you can set it up. So here, great segue to Facebook. You can set it up in a way that is tracked. So people go to your website, they do different things, they go to different pages, they look at different products. You can create that widget on your website to give them dynamic products that they've already viewed. You can also use Facebook ads to serve dynamic products. We have a client, Mater Boomy. They sell fair trade gifts that are all ethically sourced. And every time we set up the ads, and I'm still shopping on their site like all the time for gifts, because their ads, when they're served to me at my house, I'm like, whoa, I'm just scrolling through the products I've already seen. Like, I was going to buy that, but I didn't. And then it hits me 2 weeks later. I'm like, okay, I am going to buy that this time. So you need to be able to serve people the products that they want to see. And we talk about, having ads that stop the scroll, but it's more important to have the information and the product that people want, not necessarily to stop the scroll, but to get their attention and like serve to them while they're browsing what they want. And these dynamic product ads on Facebook are really, really great for that. And then go ahead, Chris.
And they help people buy. So that's the segue into this. It allows them to put content that's relevant to them based on their previous browsing behaviors, right? So as these could be aligned to shopping cart abandonment, you could actually pull the specific content that they left in their shopping cart and populate it into an ad unit within Facebook, or within a display banner, retargeting banner on the web, that aligns to a product feed. So you want to be able to give them content that's relevant to them that they've expressed interest in.
Yep. And another hack, just to go beyond retargeting, I saw in the chat also kind of talking about the death of the cookie. There are ways now with the different platforms and their specific audience targeting that you can go after and retarget off of your competitors' website behavior. So for Google Display, you can set up custom audiences where you literally punch in your competitor's website and you tell Google, I want to serve my ads to only people who have visited my competitors' websites. That is a way for you to get very, very specific with your targeting. You know that your audience is the same as your competitors, and it's a way for you to reintroduce and introduce your products to them once they've been to your site as well as your competitor's site, and you can kind of grab them in that consideration stage. And a lot of this is automated once you set it up. So that's another opportunity there, is to save you time and money with your testing. It really eliminates the targeted guessing game, and it's more acquisition focused. Like I said, pulling people from consideration to purchase like really quickly. And I keep going. So looking at the lifetime customer value, you can start to do some predictive analysis to help people buy. So, here's an example you can see where, customers spend tens of thousands of dollars in like a 5 to 10 year period. You can look at all of your customers' databases, and you can help people by giving them a little bit of that information, and you can help move the needle forward faster by looking at that prediction, and you can really hone in on your ads. And you could say, okay, the buying behaviors of these customers, in this case, the customer's been ordering every 12 days since January 2015. And so now you can see, okay, this is a better customer for me to target. This person has a lifetime customer value that's much bigger than new customer acquisition, for example. You can kind of hone in on that audience and go after them specifically.
Awesome. And trick number 7 actually goes back to the planning, as we mentioned. The conversations we're having with our clients now is planning campaign timelines. What sales are you going to activate? What is the timeline of those sales? And this kind of aligns to creating that sense of urgency. If you're going to have to activate specific sales for pre-Black Friday versus Black Friday weekend versus Cyber Monday, there's specific deadlines, and that helps align to creating urgency and aligning it to the features and functions of the tools that we use to buy the media, but also in activating some of that urgency within the ad copy. So you want to create those limit time offers, and you want to create scarcity. And obviously, we know and become accustomed to what Amazon has done in saying this product is on sale today, or today's deal only, or exclusively today. That sort of ad copy, that sort of urgency creates the need to buy it now before it's too late, or before it's out of inventory. So you could do this in multiple ways, whether it's setting up via the ad copy or just taking advantage of the consumer's psychology that they know that there's a scarcity scenario aligned to a specific product, by either tying back stock and inventory related to that product, or making sure that the urgency around the sale is going to end soon. So, as again, Amazon does really good with this and saying today's deal only, or having a deal of the day, or a deal of the week. You want to be able to put some sort of time frame or reference to a product if you can. Maybe you're trying to get rid of remnants of inventory that you have, or you're moving into your next season and you have to get rid of it. You want to be able to put some sort of level of it's only available for X amount of time before it goes away. So how we could do that is not only creating urgency within headlines, but there's other tools and features that you can use specifically within Google. There's sort of countdown promo extensions that you could use as site link extensions within Google. As we mentioned earlier before, updating your product feed directly into Google Merchant Center. You could also upload a promotional feed and say this product is marked down for a specific time frame, and it will showcase what the marked down value of that price is to tell the consumer that this is on sale now and it's only for a limited time. You're implying urgency using specific colors, typically strikeouts of the dollar amount over the previous dollar amount that what it was, or showcasing what 25% off or 45% off. You want to show what the consumer is saving with that sort of urgency and call out.
And secret number 8, big brands plan for the worst. So when you're thinking about the upcoming holiday season and you have all your budget and everything set up, you really need to think through a backup plan. In my experience, I've gone through probably 15 or 17 holiday seasons now with clients. And it is very, very challenging when something goes wrong and you're not able to kind of get and tap into all of that potential revenue. So get organized, and you guys, again, take a screenshot, or Neil will send this out after the webinar, but we're giving you guys this checklist to make sure that you're ready for the upcoming holiday season. And in general, this is something that you can use any campaign launch or any season, but get organized, double check that conversion tracking. I will go through just a few of these. Making sure that you're, targeting long tail keywords. What is that strategy? Making sure that you're able to save and that cost per click and test early again. Making sure you have a negative keyword strategy set up. I have seen it very, very sad when it happens. And This is something we look through when we do our audits for potential clients. Is we look to see that, they have a broad match keyword that's set up that's, incredibly broad, like the keyword intern on accident. And that is matching to all kinds of things. We go in and we say, wow, you could save, $10,000 just on this keyword. And so making sure that you have that match type strategy plus the keyword, negative keywords is really, really important. And then, going through just each one of these to make sure that everything is set up correctly and that you can plan for potentially anything to happen along the way. This protects you from having to go through those learning experiences.
Yep. And you want to audit everything. Start now. Start your structure of evaluating what's been performing well, where your gaps are, and just look at the basics again in preparation for the holiday season. So you want to understand what your current structure looks like, making sure that the objectives are aligning to your business outcomes that you're trying to drive. Are you using the right functionalities of audience targeting, whether it's custom audiences, pixel-based audiences, lookalike audiences? Know and understand what's worked well for you and making sure they're set up for success moving into Q4 of this year. The other things is not only just the foundation and the setup, but also what you're doing to take advantage of all those functions and features that, in this case, Facebook has to offer. So are you using dynamic product ads? Are you using your product feed integration, or what Facebook calls it, your catalog integration with your feed? Are you setting up creative testing now to learn from now that you can apply your best winning creative strategy in Q4 that's going to generate the highest click-through rates? You have to assume that your CPMs are going to rise 20, 30, and upwards of 40% going into the holiday season. So how do you put your best foot forward in planning now for those campaign activations, and what creative is going to be best, what call to actions are going to be best, what succinct copy is going to be best in your product titles versus your ad copy? And you want to apply all of that methodology from learnings that you're doing now in the summer at a lull time to win in Q4.
And as everyone mentioned, you need a plan for the worst. From what if your website goes down to what if you run out of inventory to what if there's a lag in the reporting, and you need to know that kind of stuff to fine tune your spend. So just be prepared for the worst. And as long as you do that, you should be fine and you will be able to scale. The other thing that I would do is really ask yourself, how adaptable is your strategy? And the reason this is important is you're always thrown curveballs when you're running ads, especially in marketing with things changing so fast, and other people, throwing wrenches in your strategy, especially competitors. So you need to be able to adapt on the fly. Some key takeaways: prepare early, work with predictions, optimize for mobile. I recommend you test everything. And even if you test and you find winners, you need to retest later on because things change. A great example of this is we used to have call to action and login buttons that say login with Google, worked extremely well in the early days, and then privacy issues and security. And what we saw across the board is clients were actually getting some decrease by only forcing people into that option. You need to do omni-channel, and if you don't do omni-channel, you're not going to do as well. You always want to study consumer behavior and trends because people adjust, and they're adjusting now faster than ever. Do whatever you can to help people buy. And one of the things that really pushes them over the edge is creating urgency. And of course, plan for the worst. And if you need help with any of the planning, you can always check out our ad agency, NP Digital. And now it's your turn. Just take one of these things and just try to implement it. And if you can implement it, you're great. If you do that one a week, awesome. And of course, if you need help, we're always here at NP Digital to help you grow. So now let's dive into some Q&A.
I can kick it off with some of the chats that came through while we were talking. Chris, this one is for you. What's the number one most important metric that a company or a brand should be measuring?
Oh, wow. It's number one and most important metric. It's going to differ by brand's business objectives. I actually had a call this morning with a client asking, are we going to align with your business objectives? As you log into LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, Twitter, they're asking you, what is your brand? What is your objective of the campaign? Are you looking to generate traffic? generate conversion, drive phone calls, drive leads. So us understanding what your business objectives and your outcomes of the ad campaigns are, that's what's going to align to the KPI. So if you tell me leads is the number one thing, we want to make sure that we align to how much we're willing to pay for those leads, the opportunity cost for those leads, how much volume is out there to generate those leads, and we're aligning the conversation back to that specific business outcome or campaign objective. So it is based on the individual brand's objective.
Awesome. All right, one for Neil. What's the biggest mistake you've seen business owners do when launching campaigns or running their own ads?
They don't have their funnel fine-tuned, and even if you don't have your funnel fine-tuned, you need to analyze every step of your funnel and at least have the analytics and metrics here so you can figure out where the drop-off is. And then once you figure out where the drop-off is, you can go and fine-tune. Also, when you're launching your campaigns, I see a lot of businesses optimizing for quote-unquote first-time checkouts instead of optimizing for lifetime value, which is another big mistake. And funny enough, on the screen, you see something that's quite interesting, a little barcode. You can always take out your mobile phone, scan it, and if you need help, you can just fill out your information, and it'll send you to a webpage, and we're here to help.
Awesome. Any other questions you see, Chris?
Actually, with that barcode, back to it's asking, what is the ideal client to work with NPA and for NPD?
So go ahead, Neil. You could probably answer this better than me.
It's actually anyone. So whether you're just starting off or whether you're a large corporation, we work with brands of all sizes. It's not about what is the ideal customer for us. If you're interested in working with us, apply, and we'll do analysis on your website, and we'll figure out if we're actually a good fit for you. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can't help out businesses. Sometimes we can't produce a ROI. And we like doing analysis first because then we can tell you if we think we can help or we don't. And we have a lot of data, so we know typically what we can do really well with and what we can't. And the reason I say that is, like, I've had people who have this new technology that very few people have demand for, and they're selling it to government organizations like, how can you help with marketing? And I'm like, not really. You only have one customer, which is your government. You don't need to go rank on Google for all these terms. Instead, I would just cold call. So there are certain times where we're not the best fit and there's cheaper alternatives, and we'll just be honest and transparent and recommend them. But as I mentioned, if you need help, you can always just take your phone out, your camera, look over the barcode, and it'll send you to our site.
Thanks, Neil. One question here, which is really good since we talked a lot about retail, and I'll answer this question, which is how to create urgency for B2B. And the answer goes back to those buying guides. I think that it's really important for you as a B2B offering to create a comparison chart, whether that's on your website or if it's something that you put behind the gate so that you can capture their information. But what you need to do behind that gate is make sure that they realize on that landing page that what you're about to give them is very top secret, something that they can only get from you and that's going to help them. And so that's what your landing page should cover is, we're going to compare these, 5 different features from our brand to these other brands. And then that's how you're going to create that urgency. And then the other thing is, like, have information, do consumer research, have something of value to give them, and make sure that value is not something they can get for free from your competitors, and make sure you put that behind the gate, because your number one goal is to get those leads so that your sales team can then go and close those deals for you. And it's very impactful. It's going to be the difference of making or breaking your business sometimes for independent B2B clients. What else do we have?
We'll do one more question, and then we'll let everyone go. I'll ask the question. Chris or Brooke, feel free to answer it. Any advice on display targeting and exclusion of low-quality inventory for lead gen?
Go for it, Chris.
Absolutely. This is something that you want to put as one of your reoccurring monthly optimization plan on your monthly optimization plans. And something we do for our clients is to analyze the placement inventory of where your ads are being shown and identify inventory that's of quality versus not based on the actions that are coming from that click. So Google will tell you how much traffic is being driven from a specific domain. Is that traffic bouncing? Is it have high click-through rate and it's bouncing, not leading to an action? Those are where you want to start excluding specific placements or specific inventory that you know is just not relevant to your brand or aligns to your brand safety. If you have inventory that's exposed on YouTube, for instance, and there's specific channels or content that you don't want to be associated with, those are conversations that we typically have with our clients on the front end before launching. But once ads are live, we can kind of see an export of where our ads are being shown and start excluding specific channels, specific placements, and inventory as we go through the optimizations plan monthly.
And what Chris means by, oh, sorry, go ahead, Neil. I was going to say, what he means by optimizations monthly is like just continue to sharpen the sword. So you don't have to do everything at once. Make a roadmap and go through, okay, you're going to check this and optimize this. You're going to check this and then optimize this.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for your time. As we mentioned, if you ever need help, we're here to help in any way we can. Whether it's our blog, neilpatel.com, where we try to give free marketing advice, tools that Uber suggests, to even our ad agency, NP Digital. Seriously, from all of us, we really appreciate you guys taking the time during your busy day to attend this. We look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.